Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I am currently popping out the YouTube chat. Let me get that in its own window here. And I'm saying hello and reminding people to ask questions and be sure to ask your questions early. It doesn't happen every time, but sometimes we don't have enough time for all the questions. So the people who ask early are the most likely to get their questions answered. And if there isn't enough time, we have to wait until the next week to pick up the rest. So be sure to ask your questions early. It can also be topics too. It doesn't have to be a question. If you just need to know more about a certain topic, that's fine. I also want to turn over the microphone to Madge because he's having a Black Friday special. Is this special live right now? Can people use this code today?
Yes, Ted, it's been live since yesterday. I thought I'd get in there early and get people excited. Now we're finally doing a sale this year. Yeah, so the sale went live on Monday, 25% off every package within Magic PR, so bronze, silver, and gold. It's the same rate all over. Doesn't matter if you buy one, 10, or however many you want to purchase. That's the Black Friday sale. We've been improving on or adding some new additions to the service. We did add podcast going back about 6 months ago, which has been improved on. And being what I'm also seeing now, Ted, is the podcast is also ranking highly for some of the, not for major terms, but I would say medium to low keyword terms, ranking on page one. So the likes of SoundCloud, Spotify, and so forth, because we are distributing it to 25 different platforms. So the podcast only is available with our silver and gold packages. So the press release is converted into a podcast and then distributed. We now also offer a slideshow, which started, I think, about a week ago. So including bronze, silver, or gold, the PR is now also converted into a slideshow with the power of AI and with the script of the press release being added into it, creating nice images using Flux AI, which I think right now is really, really good, especially with the type of images it creates. So that's now also included. And one thing, I'm just going to share with you a link in the chat, which people would be really happy about. Our gold packages now come with a a full report of a PDF report premium. Um, so the trouble we had, our premium reports were only in CSV format. We've now managed to not just only convert them to PDF, but scrape every single logo for every publication that we include in our gold package. So when you do send these to your clients, they do look professional and they are fully white labeled. And this is all done in-house now for our gold clients. Um, so yeah, so that is now also part of it.
Nice. Thank you
Mm.
for sharing that.
So if you
Uh,
don't mind, I have a couple questions for you, Maj.
Go for it.
This PDF, I'm looking at the PDF right now. This is awesome. I'm looking at 66 pages for those that haven't seen the link. That's a lot of that's any client would be very happy to get that. Does that include would that include the video and the podcast as well, or just the syndication?
Yeah, so our gold clients receive everything. So the video part is still to come, because we're playing with generative AI. But what we've realized it's very costly, so we're trying to figure out a way of making it a lot cheaper so we don't need to increase our pricing. Because whenever I've added something new, the pricing has stayed the same, right? Across the board. The podcast is included within this service. So I think this client ended up with about 750 publications. Our gold clients it can range from any minimum being 700, the maximum being close to 1,200 publications. But the top tier publications do include they're at the top where you've got your Yahoos, Business Insiders, and so forth. And the podcast is also distributed to 25 different platforms now.
Cool.
So to convert those numbers into SEO speak, historically, a good press release would get you about 500 referring domains. Madge is saying his top tier one is capable of behaving like almost 2 press releases for the one. So that's an important distinction to note. If it's getting 1,000 referring domains or higher in one press release, that's a lot of referring domains. That's quite powerful.
Thank you.
And are the podcasts and the video links, do they act as like tier 1 links as well, or are they a secondary tier?
They're tier 1 links.
Cool. Excellent.
What we've been managed to do is, before it gets distributed to the 25 platforms, we're updating the description so it has the things that we want the description to have, rather than inputting its own thing. And that will then give you the tier 1 links, not just to the client site, but also our own newsroom. So everyone benefits from that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I
Thanks.
noticed that a number of the pages appear to be international,
Yes.
but still in English. Are you growing out your international distribution?
Yes, so I do now have one of the largest distributions when it comes to our Gold package. And when I renewed our contract last year, or sorry, start of this year, I wanted more European, including UK distribution as a package, rather than, yes, a client can come to us and say, Madge, I want just, for example, just Canada or Australia. We can do that, but it's very pricey. But what I've recommended to our distributor is, rather than having a standalone distribution for one country, let's have the best of the US, the best of the UK, and Europe combined into one. That way, everyone can benefit. Because then you've got links from all over the world, but the top ones from everywhere.
Yeah, that looks pretty awesome.
Thank you. A lot of work, but managed to do it.
So if people have questions and they want to talk to you, where should they go to reach you?
So they can go to the website, and on our contact us page, they can fill in the form, and I'll get back to them ASAP. And I can send them a link to our Calendly link where they can book a time with me. It doesn't cost you nothing. You could book a time. It's a half an hour to an hour time where, if you have any questions, whether it's regarding your client, your own website, or you don't even know how to proceed with the PR campaign, I'm here to help you.
And it would be cool if you do any other podcasts or promotions, let's add a QR code that automatically applies the Black Friday discount.
Okay, I'll do that definitely.
Yeah, because we're missing an opportunity here to get that to everyone. But I'll put your website URL in the YouTube chat.
Thank you.
So there's that. And yeah, I want to move on to today's topic. Well, not today's topic, one brief topic, then today's topic. But before I do, let me ask Terry, what's in the rumor mill for the upcoming spring training? Oh, I can't hear you, Terry. Are you muted? Yeah, you're muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, we're going officially live this Friday with announcements of the first batch of speakers. We're changing things up again this year. We're still going to have the morning stage and then the afternoon breakout rooms. But we're adding an affiliate panel this year. Marty Marion and maybe one or two others are going to do a workshop before the conference. So if people want to come in early for, spend a few hours with Marty Marion. yeah, we're excited about it. So yeah, we're going to announce Friday. Elizabeth and I are going to do a podcast on Monday, announce all the Black Friday deals and everything also. But yeah, we're super excited. We're in Chandler, which is south of Scottsdale this year. But it's a hotel that has the golf course attached for the golf extravaganza. And then it's just got like 40 different restaurants and shops and stuff. I mean, it's just a premier location for networking. And that's, of course, that's one of the first things we choose a place for. So
Awesome.
no, we're excited. So we've still got probably, I think, 10 or 12 speakers still to choose. And that's basically my delay just because I still haven't kind of finalized the format yet. But yeah, we're excited. It's going to be, the sixth one is going to be obviously the best one ever. And we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I have a doozy of a topic planned. I don't want to spoil it yet because I have to see if I can pull it off. And it's crazy enough that it just might work. It's going to be a very high fear of missing out topic if I can actually do it in time. So we'll see. I'll probably solidify my topic in 3, 4 weeks. And hopefully it's the one I'm working on right now because that would be so cool.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome.
yeah, updates coming. And yeah, every time I speak, I do a different topic. So if you saw me speak recently, I'm not going to speak on the same thing. So I do something different. And this is going to be a really good one. So the last time I spoke at spring training, there was a lot of fear of missing out. I'm trying to top that level of fear with a topic that is so good. Like, just wait for it.
Well, yeah, and just a little heads up too, we are not going to be live streaming this year. And the only reason we're going to record is just for the speakers to have their own recording. So we're going back to the original, and it's going to be pretty freaking cool. You don't want to miss this one. That's a fact.
All
I think
right.
that's a good decision. I like that, Terry.
So,
Yeah, I mean, because the last couple of years, we struggled with that because we did the big, huge online one when COVID hit and had 800 people come through from around the world, and so I felt kind of guilty that we weren't still able to offer them that type of live stream. But I'll be honest with you, last year was a pain in the ass. It sucked. Live streaming in one room is hard enough, but we live streamed 3 rooms, and that was it was crazy. So we're not doing that again. So if you want to see it, come. If you don't, I'm sorry. Come next year.
yep.
Oh, it is the first week in May, May 1st to the 4th.
So on to our small topic of the day. Anand, who is a very technical SEO, has noticed that it's very easy to get included in ChatGPT search. And so what Anand basically noticed is that if you go through Bing Webmaster Tools and you set up your site or you import your sites from Google Search Console and you add your sitemaps, you just kind of generally get included into the ChatGPT search capability. Now, it can take a few days to get processed, and you do have to potentially rank well in Bing, is my understanding. But for SEOs who have been targeting Bing as well as Google, we typically find that Bing is a lot easier to rank in than Google. So Anand, did I get those details right? Did I leave anything out?
No, that's even perfect. And that I tell you, because I have been working with Quora for many months now. Every single day I do Quora. So the thing is, like, when you optimize your page, even if your goal is to rank high in the Google, if you just follow the Quora roadmap, you eventually, as a result, get your rank first in the Bing. So I have seen this correlation, and it may happen that your web page is actually ranking on 15 or 20th and the Google after the first uh, uh, optimization of the content, but that same data can rank you even into top three until the Bing, because that I see like way easy algorithm, because it might be a lot of filters that Google have with their technology. And yes, I think even in my case, Dad, of course, it will take a couple of days once you submit your website to the Bing Webmaster Tool. There are two misconceptions which we had based on our past experience with the Bing Webmaster Tool. The first misconception was there was a way that we need to add those tags. That is no more the case, because when today I added the website, as you said, it was directly importing everything from your Google Search Console. So you even don't have to do another verification. So that part is so easy. Now you can import your hundred of website from GSC to the Bing Webmaster Tool. You just need one. And second important thing is, as far as I remember, that there was a ROR or a TXT format of Bing Webmaster Tool for the sitemap part, but now that is no more. Now they are reading the same XML file which your WordPress or your website is already having. So it is super easy. And in my test case, which I recorded today and I shared in our Quora room, even I tell you, in the morning, I added the sitemap, and by the evening, the content was ranking into the GPT search, ChatGPT search. I mean, it's so easy, as you said. It's so easy, and I personally believe that because I have a generic blog in my test case study, so it will bring more traffic from Bing. And also, very soon in our analytics, we need to see how the chat GPT search traffic says as a referral. Do it say like an OpenAI, or do it say like an direct hit, or how it happens? So those things are still to discover. But yes, I will highly recommend everybody just import your GSC data to the Bing Webmaster Tool. Even if you don't do anything else, Bing cannot do it. So yeah, that worth it. Yeah.
And a couple of reasons why I think this is really announcement worthy right now. So, on one front, you can actually start targeting prompts. So if you can figure out anything along the lines of a viral prompt or a very popular prompt that people are doing, you can craft content to try to get in front of those. You can also create things where if people ask about something, so if you're going to create a trend, you can make it so that you have content for that trend that you're branding, that you're trademarking, that's unique to what you're offering. So when people ask about that entity, you get an information presentation from ChatGPT. Another interesting aspect to this is that it now enables us SEO testers to get in there and do SEO testing on these capabilities. So now we can start seeing what can we do to alter what information gets returned. We can start doing test keywords, asking the AI about the test keywords, seeing if we can manipulate the presentation. Can we put in calls to action to find more information with the citation? What types of things can we get in and do now that we have fast turnarounds on getting pages into the AI answers? And so none of that testing has ever happened before, and the doors are wide open and easy on it. So that is going to be amazing. All right. Charles, any thoughts on the uh, getting into prompts? Is there a future for it for Fox News?
There was always potential opportunities to get
Yeah.
into for stuff. No, I just took a bunch of notes while you were speaking, and I'm gonna go check the core group. Here's another. I mean, there's another great example. I'm gonna pitch core. Ted never pitches core, so I'll pitch core for him for a second. There's another great example of why you want core. And not only did you get this great, it's an awesome tool, but you're automatically in a community of some very, very smart people, like Anand.
Yep. I second that motion. All right. So let's move on to the primary topic for today. And let me go to Google Maps. All right. And so I want to teach the general public kind of my style of local SEO. Take it all with a grain of salt. But I kind of see things a bit differently than the normal local SEO. I think there are some bad assumptions in local SEO. And to date, I've only shown this information in select conferences and in my own personal training. So I'm just opening the floodgates for peer review from the whole community. So maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe I'm really onto something. Let me know. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to point out the big misconceptions in local. And I see them all the time. I hear them all the time. They make me cringe and I worry about it. So let's just get in and figure it out. And to do that, we need to look at a keyword like Seattle plumber, and we want to kind of see how the Google Maps results are fundamentally different than the normal web search results. And so, we see the obvious things like call to action buttons. There's a website link and a directions link, an address and phone number, ratings. Um, but eventually, if we go far enough, we'll find an outlier that everybody knows of. This isn't news, that doesn't have a website. Now, what's news is the importance of this distinction right here. Very important distinction. So in a normal Google web search, you type in a keyword and Google will stack rank URLs based on which ones are the most authoritative and relevant. But when you do that in map search, you don't even have to have a website. It's optional. So fundamentally, the engineering is not ranking web pages. That is not the unit being ranked in map search. All right. The thing that's being ranked is business profiles that can optionally have a website. All right. That's a very important distinction. And there are implications to that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look down here in the corner at the URLs that are in these results. All right, so I'm going to skip the sponsored ones. This one is a homepage, 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 homepage with the UTM code, homepage with the UTM, homepage with the refer code, homepage, homepage, homepage. People get the impression that Google likes homepages. But is it true? Did Google pick these? Did Google have any say at all as to what these URLs are? The answer is no, they didn't. They were chosen by the businesses and the SEOs. Google had no choice in what these URLs are. And that has implications too, because another thing that happens is people start saying, because they make this observation, they say, my homepage ranks for all my keywords. Well, of course it does. Every keyword your profile is going to rank for is always going to show the URL you chose. This URL is going to rank for every keyword you can rank for. All right. And Google didn't choose this URL. And another problem is local SEOs start saying, well, because my homepage ranks for all my keywords, therefore I need to tune all my keywords on my homepage. And that very quickly becomes a game of whack-a-mole SEO where you try to get lots of keywords ranking at the top on one page. And when you go for the gold on one keyword, you wreck all of the other tunings. And then when you go to fix one of the other tunings, you wreck the one you just ranked. And it becomes this endless game of whack-a-mole. And what we actually find is that the businesses that get the largest amount of number ones in local SEO, they're actually doing one keyword per page. They're trying to take keywords off of those home pages, give them a dedicated internal page to get their maximum amount of number ones possible. And so what this means in terms of the engineering of what Google is doing behind the scenes is that the local Google bot, if it's a different Google bot at all, is going to crawl the websites, and eventually they find a page about a keyword, and then they rank the profile for that keyword because the website has it covered, and the profile just happens to link to the homepage because the business picked it. So if we change this search from Seattle plumber to Seattle faucet repair, all right, we can look at these again. So homepage with the UTM, homepage, homepage with the UTM, homepage, no page, homepage, homepage with the UTM, homepage, so on. What are the odds that all of these homepages are optimally tuned for faucet repair? And that's very low. These pages are not optimally tuned. And let's think for a second about what SEO software does for people, local and otherwise. The SEO software is going to submit your keywords on your behalf. It's going to parse out all these search results, including the URLs. Then it's going to do an on-page analysis of these URLs for your keyword, faucet repair. And then it's going to tell you, based on the competing pages, what you need to do to your page to properly tune it for faucet repair, knowing that the home page is not the proper page to tune for faucet repair, and these other home pages aren't at the right competitive standard for a keyword like faucet repair. It is the wrong information. And so you have to be careful with that, because what I tell people that use Cora is that for local SEO, you have to do two reports. All right. You have to do a normal report and normal web search to figure out the correct page for faucet repair and the correct tuning standard competitively for that keyword, which is almost definitely none of these pages. And so you need to do the normal SEO to get the right on page for the right URL. Now, what you want to use a map search tool for is to get the GMB data. You know, what settings in the profile are you missing? You know, what What are your competitors doing? How many reviews do they have? You want the information from the profile. So when people use Cora for local, I say don't use the roadmap, use the local report so you see all those GMB settings. All right. So this rabbit hole goes even deeper. So the next part I want to show you is that there are parts of the algorithm hiding in plain sight here in Google Maps. So I'm going to change my keyword to best tacos Seattle. All right. And did you see how these buttons changed? So Seattle is the map that we're looking at. Best was converted into a 4+ star rating filter, and tacos is really our only keyword. But I wanted to point out that Google is taking your search terms, parsing them, and trying to apply sorts and filters based on what you've configured in the profile. So if I change this from best tacos to cheap tacos, now we get a price filter. Now check this out. I've done this training hundreds of times, and never once have I found a person that has ever searched for high-end tacos. So I'm guessing you've never searched for high-end tacos. Well, all right, Terry Samuels, first person I've met who's ever searched for high-end tacos. But it totally works. They're parsing our search results. So what do you think happens in the cases where you're not collecting reviews and ratings, or your hours aren't correct, or your pricing information wasn't configured? Are you going to rank well in searches like these without that data being present? No, of course not. So the more complete and the more correct your data is, the more kinds of searches you can appear in and rank well for. So if you're not getting all the little details in the profile, you are potentially missing out on tons of nuanced searches that Google is handling in this manner. But now I want to throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing because it's always fun to break it and wreck the theory, right? Because when you do that, you have to modify the theory for how it breaks, you know. And so let's break it. Let's do best gas station Seattle. All right. So, in theory, this would be a ratings filter on gas stations in Seattle. So I'll submit it, watch those buttons. Boom, no filter. And what we think is happening here is Google is monitoring mobile devices, and they're seeing who does a search like this, who actually travels from here to here for a better gas station experience. And the problem with that is traveling from here to here at the wrong time of day, that can be an hour, and nobody is going to drive an hour to get a better gas station experience. But what's really cool is that if you take out Seattle and put in a smaller town where it's only 5 minutes to get from one side to the other side of town, like Edmonds, Washington, boom, the filter's in play. So many of these features are coming in and out of play based on the keyword and based on the location. So if you're telling gas station clients in Seattle that local SEO is nothing but reviews and ratings, well, obviously, you know, those are beneficial to some point, but clearly they're not in play in these primary sorts. But it would be great advice in a small town like Edmonds. So you actually want to get into Google Maps on behalf of your clients and see which of these features are in and out of play in their area. And just because a feature is in play in Seattle doesn't mean it's in play in Chicago. You actually have to go and check. And it changes often. I've been made a fool countless times in my training because Google changes these features so frequently. It might be that the training data changes frequently, or they change how the algorithms work. There's a lot of opportunity for differences to emerge that affect your clients. And so you have to get in there and look. All right. So now I want to show you that there's even more of the algorithm hidden in Google Maps. And so to do that, we're going to change our keyword yet again. Let's look at quick lunch Seattle. All right. And I'm going to go into my neighborhood because I know it better. So there I am, everybody, the blue dot. So search this area. All right. We'll skip the sponsored. Here's result number 1. All right. My favorite part of all of Google Maps is this section right here. It has the check marks, the X's, and this little caret. It is the exact same feature as the About tab. So when I click this, About will be selected. Boom, About was selected. So same feature. And I call these switches because they're either on or off. You apply them kind of in a tag-like manner, so you could probably call them tags. What these kind of are is local business entities that Google recognizes and works with. So these are established local business entities, and they will change as to what they are based on the industry that you get into. So if you are an emergency plumber, they won't let you specify that you can offer lunch. So part of this game is figuring out what settings you need so that you can activate the switches you want to tune. So it's kind of a settings hunt in the Google business profiles. But check this out, so Seattle is our map, all right? And lunch is a setting in the profile. And look at this, quick is also a setting. This is technically a 0 keyword search. All of this can be sorted out by populated data in the profiles. And that's a very fast search for Google to do. It makes sense that they would want to do this because scanning text is expensive, but seeing if a flag is set for quick and lunch, I mean, that's really a fast operation for a properly tuned database. So this makes a lot of sense. But is it really that easy? So let's put in beer and dogs allowed, Seattle. All right, the results changed. We click on it. We go to our About tab. All right. So here we have fast service. So another way to say it's quick, and there can be overlapping switches, and there are. And you can have both of them too. Look at this great beer selection. They offer beer. All right. And dogs allowed. But it can't be that easy, right? There's no way that local SEO can be that easy. So let's test it. Let's get rid of all this stuff and let's put in karaoke Seattle. Boom. Short tail one, realistic. click on the first one, go to the About tab, and right there in the highlights, karaoke. All right, but it's not that easy. And so the reason it's not that easy is that once everybody knows to turn on the karaoke switch, then you need something else to actually stack rank these, because Google needs to figure out which one of these is the most karaoke. So there has to be something else that does that. And so my theory on what Google is doing is that it's dimensions of agreement. So when you set a switch in the filter, all right, when you do that, that's a claim that you're making. And Google wants multiple forms of evidence that this claim is true. And so if your karaoke claim is real, your website ought to mention your karaoke event, right? That should be on your website somewhere. If you claim it in a profile, be sure you talk about it on the website somewhere. And if your event is real, you ought to have event schema detailing when and where that karaoke night is. That's another dimension of evidence that this claim is legitimate. And check this out. If your karaoke night is any good, people in your reviews ought to talk about how good your karaoke night was. That is another dimension of agreement. And if you have one of the best karaoke bars in town, you ought to appear in roundup articles about the top 20 karaoke bars in Seattle. That's another form of agreement. Now, that last one, it used to appear in the search results. It used to appear there. But I talked about it a while back on Fight Club, and 2 weeks later it was gone and it never returned. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's because I talked about it. But they took it away, and they shouldn't have, because it was really good. Because I do lots of conferences, I have lots of screenshots and slide decks of things. So I happen to have the Roundup article presentation back when Google used to show it. So where to eat and drink outside in Ballard. This was a link to that Roundup article that would talk to those places on where to eat and drink outside. Where to get the best picnic food in Seattle. So they'd list a bunch of different places to get good picnic food. And so this is how they presented those Roundup articles. Now, here's the thing about my theory of dimensions of evidence. I can't prove it completely. I can prove it out to like 95, 98%, but I can't get that last little bit. So here's the thing. Here's why I say that. If Google's looking for this agreement, all right, and they're parsing it, and they're storing it in their database, and they're sometimes even presenting it in their search results, what's the likelihood that they score with it as well? So I feel that that likelihood is pretty good. Maybe you disagree with me, but I think if Google's going to go through all that trouble, they're probably going to score with it too. And so that's the last little bit I can't prove, is that likelihood that they're scoring with this one versus that one. That would take a lot of testing, and frankly, I don't have enough time right now to test it. But that's the theory. That's what we're working on, and it seems to work. The people I give this guidance to seem to get good results when they kind of take this approach on getting those multiple dimensions of agreement out there. And it got me thinking, can we find other forms of agreement, other data that Google might be working with in this ecosystem? And the answer is yes. You can actually do diagnostic queries. Let me pull up this again. You could do diagnostic queries like this one, um, frying pan in stock, Seattle. All right. So this is sponsored. I suspect this is Merchant Center feed related. Could be that Merchant Center feeds are another dimension of agreement. But the one that I find interesting is this: updated today, updated 1 day ago. All right. So in stock. And what I suspect this is normalized categories from category schema for products that have in-stock schema. So, again, if they're presenting it and collecting it, what are the odds that they're scoring with it too? And so this is fascinating to me. And I wonder if there are other data sources. So if we go back to our monkey wrench, um, let's see, what was that? That was best gas station, Seattle. All right, check this out. Hmm, pricing. I don't think Google aggregates the pricing as their own core business. I bet this is from a government agency that's regulating something, or this is a third-party data set that they've licensed. Um, JP saying that schema doesn't have to be present. Yeah, so Google could actually see that it's offered on a website and assume the schema instead of actually seeing it. And we know there's a precedent for that too. But schema is probably a better way of accomplishing it. Um, but yeah, somewhere out there is a database of gas pricing. And if you're a gas station and you don't have an entry in that database, that might be one dimension of evidence that you're a real gas station that you're lacking. So if my client was a gas station, I would want to figure out where this comes from and try to get my client's prices into it. All right. And so, what data is being used in your client's industry? I don't know. You'd have to go through and carefully look at the competitive profiles, see what's being presented, see what they have, see what Google's searching for. You might even have to guess to what data sets you might need to be in because Google might use them and not show them. But if there's something in the industry that everybody's using, then maybe being in that is beneficial. All right. Um, let's see. Eric Schwartzman says there's a source called Gas Buddy. So yeah, maybe it's licensed from Gas Buddy. So I bet there's a database somewhere, though. That's the key thing. Um, all right. So we have some interesting things happening here. So with this data, let me find a Cora report to show this data. And I'm not saying you have to get Cora. You can find all this information in Google Maps, so you don't need any tool to go and look. Everything Cora would use is displayed, in these cards. Cora just kind of makes it easy to look at that data in a spreadsheet. So let's see. Need to sort it by file name. Where is it? Here it is. All right. So just a reminder, the roadmap and a maps report is a lie because of the faucet repair problem on home pages. So when you use a Google Maps report, you really want to look at the local report that tells you about the factors that were set or not set for your client. All right, so we have a plumber here out at number 13, and this is hypothetical, not a real client of mine. So if you hate my guts and you want to punish somebody, don't punish this guy. He's innocent. Um, but emergency plumber is the keyword. And so I'm looking at a switch here. So the switches are those on-off tags that we saw in the about profile. And this one's called on-site services. And this particular switch notifies Google that this business is willing to go on location at the client's location and fix a problem. All right. Not all plumbing businesses do that. Things like sewer repair requires equipment rentals and permits in order to dig up your front lawn and repair that sewer line. And those things typically need to be scheduled out into the future. So on-site services isn't appropriate for all sewer repair businesses, but it is appropriate for all emergency plumbers who are willing to fix a leak. And so when we look at this, we can see that number 1 has it, number 2 has it, number 3 has it, number 4 has it. Jim Dandy Sewer doesn't have it, but that's expected. All right, number 5 has it, number 6 has it. Here's 24-hour emergency plumber. They don't have it. That's a misconfigured profile. If they're truly an emergency plumber, then they should be willing to go on site and fix a broken toilet. So now we're finding businesses that have easy problems that we know how to fix. We can reach out to companies like this and say, hey, I noticed that your Google business profile is misconfigured for emergency plumbing. And you can show a screenshot of their about page and a competitor's about page, and you can draw an arrow from the competitor's setting to the blank space on their page where it should be. And you can say, if you have an SEO, let them know about this right away and to check for any other settings that they might have missed. If you don't, we'd be happy to help you with this and to do an audit to see if there's any other important settings you missed. And of course, in your audit, you're going to find lots of things with their on page and their profile and their schema. I mean, the audit's going to be huge. You just know that. But you have a way in the door that's helping them with screenshots of their own business and what they're missing. Same thing. You run a report for Karaoke Seattle. You find all the karaoke bars that forgot to set their karaoke switch. All right. So very important option there. Another thing that we talked about was the completeness of profile. So we made a factor for that. How many of those factors are set? And so when we look at that, we can see 94 for the first one, 83 for the second, 82 for the third, 82 for the fourth, 78th for the fifth. That's a very strong correlation that more is better. We don't always see that correlation, but we often see that correlation. And so we suspect it's true that the more complete your business profile is, the more searches you can appear in, the better you can rank in those searches, and those user engagement metrics probably help you rank better. We can also see things like the map's review count. All right. So we look at that. Number one has 1,200, number two has 2,500, but look at this. Number three has 79. It's because there's more than one factor in SEO. There's many ways to get to the top. This one might have gotten there because their 79 on average are a lot more recent than these 2,500 that might be 3 years old. So if this is recent activity, that might be a way to get to the top without having to get big numbers. We can see that our client has 492, so we probably want them to have some strategy in place to get their customers to leave reviews. So cool stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot here, and it's things that people aren't talking about in general in local SEO, and I think people need to talk about it. So I
Quick
just
question.
wanted to point that out.
Quick question
Yep.
for you, Ted. So what I always find interesting are these edge cases. For example, that site that did not have a website. Would they show up in this report? And if so, would they be like near the end or?
They actually I'd have to go back and check.
Okay.
Because this version of this report was at a time where it required a URL presence to be in the analysis for the on page. But the latest updates don't have that requirement, so I'd actually have to go and double check. So I'm glad you brought that up. Um, and uh, yeah, so you just want to be careful with these things. And if you're interested in Cora, just note that I personally train people on how to use it for local SEO. You don't have to, like I said, all of this information is here anyway. So you can go to any of these businesses and you can go to the About tab and you can see what's going to be in the Cora report. We're just putting these things into a spreadsheet effectively. We're just doing the work of measuring it for you. And so you can compare the measurements, you can find your deficits and fix them. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things people might not think of. If you don't set your diesel gas setting in the offerings and you're close to the highway, you might not get as many trucks as you normally would. And I hate to say it, sometimes these switches are abnormally powerful. And I'll tell you about one. I was driving to a big city. I don't want to narc on the business because they were very friendly in telling me why they did a certain thing. So I was driving to a big city and my wife wanted a cup of coffee. And so I said, sure, put a Starbucks with a drive-through into Google Maps and we'll navigate to the next one. So we did that and we navigated there. And sure enough, this Starbucks did not have a drive-through window. It was in the middle of a block. It was physically impossible for this Starbucks to ever have a drive-through. All right. And I went in, and the store manager was in that day. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, why did you lie on your business profile about your drive-through? And he started apologizing. He offered to pay for our drink order. And I was like, no, no, no. I'm not narking on you. I'm a marketer and I just want to understand why you felt you needed to do that. And he was like, well, we're so close to the highway. When we uncheck that drive-through, it impacts the number of people that come through our door in a given day. And so, in order to compete, in order to stay viable, we feel like we have to leave that setting. And I was like, I would do the exact same thing. And so just know that situationally, based on where a business is located, these things might be extremely powerful in some cases. So much so that a small business might be compelled to lie about it. You look like you had a question, Terry. You're muted, I think.
Um, I was wondering, what do you think about the possibility, and I guess I'll have to test it, but that some of these switches, a signal to Google of their validity might be reviews mentioning them.
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. Like we saw that with karaoke. If your karaoke night's good, your reviews will talk about how good the karaoke is. And so, yeah, absolutely. I totally think that is another dimension the of the proof. All right. So with that, it's 10 o'clock. Let's try and do some questions here. Let's see how many we can get through. So let's see. In my training with Cora, I go into more aspects of local. I go over ranking grids and the potential problems with those and how to vet the data and all that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, there's more to it, but this is the heart of it. This is where I see local SEOs getting it wrong, and I just wanted to put it out there so local SEOs can get it right. So if you're out there thinking Google loves home pages, you might want to rewatch this episode. All right. So let's see. Should I nest several different schema into just one schema? If so, why? Kind of wish Terry was here. So you might want to ask this question again when Terry's still on the call. He had to go. Um, I think in general, the minimum viable SEO philosophy on schema is probably just do it in JSON LD. It's easy to implement, it's easy to maintain. If you have to use the other forms where you embed it in the HTML, then every time the website does a look and feel redesign, they're going to obliterate your schema. So I think for ease of ongoing maintenance, it's probably a best practice to do schema and JSON LD going forward. And it'll help you if you get to a point where you're going to do custom development to manage schema from a database. Then it's all in one place and easy to integrate. Let's see. Green Worker says, if I use web accessibility tools and make our website more accessible, will this improve rankings or not? Any positive effect? Well, several things there. If any of your clients have vision impairment or motor ability issues like getting a mouse to hover a tiny target long enough and to move to the left to get to the subcategories. If somebody has difficult moving in that manner, they can't use your website. So you would want to think about your clients and do what's right. The other thing I would want you to do with accessibility is to make sure that if you have text that is SEO only, that you please do the ARIA ignore syntax so that text, that SEO text, doesn't get read to the blind. It's very rude. Please don't do that. So the positive effects is you're being kind to human beings. And so I'm of the opinion you should always err on the side of being kind to human beings. Google has already come out and said that they do not analyze ARIA script at all. I don't know if they're lying or telling the truth. I'm inclined to believe they're telling the truth because Google seems to go where the money is, and I don't see how the money is there for Google in that. So, with that, I think your best thing you can do is be nice to people. In some jurisdictions, there is some legal liability if you ignore accessibility to a large scale. So, if you're a large brand and you're ignoring accessibility, it's possible in some areas that you could see legal action for doing that. But if you try to be kind to all your visitors and make some effort, I think that'll go a long way to mitigating a lot of risk. Let's see. Somebody says, I used Magic PR and got 83 links. I had hoped for at least 300 to 400. What do you think might have happened there, Madge?
Um, that's very surprising to me because our minimum package comes with minimum of 150. So I have reached out to that individual in the chat to email me to show me the report because I'll need to see what niche that individual is in because that can only be the reasoning why they received minimum amount of links, but the least links that they should receive is 150 and no less than that. So I'm a little surprised with that question, but again, reach out to me and I'll double check. And if there's anything that we've done wrong, I'm more than, happy to reimburse and or give them another credit to retry.
All right, how can I test the impact of driving directions, GPS activity, click-through rates on Google Maps, and SEO? Any tools or tips to track these results? This question reminds me of the research that was done by Holly Starks, who famously drove around with 100 cell phones, causing a mobile traffic jam everywhere she went. And all the calamity that's around trying to create an operation where you drive around with 100 cell phones. She started fires with the charging implications. She had to buy custom hardware. She triggered investigations with how many cell phones she was trying to activate and get all at once, and all those data plans. She had a ton of trouble trying to do that. So, and I think anymore, she's found methods to do it via software emulating devices instead of using actual devices. I have no idea where her research landed. But I do feel that it was worthy enough that she was able to make a business out of parts of what she discovered. So I would suspect, in terms of, are there factors in there? We see it in Google Maps that Google will change the features offered based on Seattle versus Edmonds. All right, so it's likely to say that they're using that data in other ways. So we know they're logging it, we know they're storing it, we know they're presenting it. It becomes, what's the likelihood that they're scoring with it too? And I'd say it's probably likely. Can't prove it though. Let's see. Do you think using the main topic keyword and many other subheadings other than H1 will cause topical dilution on the page? not necessarily. So keep in mind that when you change the niche, you can find lots of examples that are permissible. So in games, you'll see people using games all over the place in headings, and you'll see them do variations because it's card games and arcade games and first person shooter games and puzzle games and casino games. And there are so many ways to use the keyword games all over those headings, and they do, and it works really well. But it's not the only trick in their book. So what we find is that Google is a diversity ecosystem, so they want diversity of ranking signals. And if you only exploit a few, you get found out algorithmically and you don't get credit for those few that you're exploiting. But if you exploit all the ranking signals, you bypass their web spam algorithms altogether and you just rank well. So we would want you to go wide in ranking signals before you go deep in any one signal. Because it appears that there is an answer to the question, if they can do it, why can't I? And the reason they can is they have good signal diversity and you don't. And so that gives you a roadmap to what you need to do to be able to do what they're doing. So get some data, find out how you're different, fix your deficits. That's it. At a minimum, that's step one to answering the question. All right. Let's see. I ordered some credits from Madge. It's a new website, 3 months old, and this will be a second press release going to the homepage using the brand anchor. Should I PR stack and link the first press release? I know that people have seen that, seen results from that, where their press releases mention their press page, and every press release they do is creating tiered link building to all their past press. I feel like that would work in a link graph. I don't know that it'll work forever. I think eventually, Google might say no to that. But I think at the moment it probably does work right now. But you with a specific tactic like that, I think what you can't rely on is that it'll always work. And so don't put all your eggs in one basket. Um, and I love the idea of press pages for businesses. And when you get press, you should take screenshots and you should have your bragging wall of all the outlets that have carried you, and you should do all of that. And because not because it's a big SEO thing, but if you got into Yahoo Finance, I mean, that's really cool. And you'll want to remember that 10 years from now. And if you don't take a screenshot, it'll be gone 2 years from now, never to be seen again, and you'll forget about it. And I miss all my old press, when I was in PC Magazine. That was awesome. When I was in all of the big journals for creating new technology, I love that stuff. When I was next to Bill Gates at Comdex for being nominated for Best New Technology back in the early 2000s, that's cool stuff. And it's all gone. None of it's online anymore. If you didn't screenshot it, it's gone. And I would hate for you to lose your list of cool accomplishments. So take screenshots, immortalize them on your own hosting, have a press room, link to them if they're still there, or link to a screenshot of the article if they're not. That's why you want to have a press room. because you'll regret it if you don't. Let's see. Let's see. Paul says 100% agree with Ted. He's total wisdom. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. Time will tell. We'll see how my methods and thoughts age. Um, I manage a business with over 500 clicks and focus on deeper search. One other topic we find is Gen Z and younger going straight to Google Maps and avoiding search. Yeah, different groups search differently. Like I come from a generation that predates geolocation. So anytime I need a plumber, I am programmed to, in my keywords, say Seattle plumber. My kids do not have that programming. They've grown up with geolocation. They know when they type in plumber that Google figures it out for them. So the difference between those two searches might be a difference in age targeting. But that's not true when you have an industry where people will search from out of state. So if it's commercial real estate, someone in New York might look for office space in San Francisco. So the age targeting won't necessarily be true in that industry. So yeah, you got to think about those considerations and your keywords, and sometimes looking at all of those contexts is the right thing to do instead of just looking at it in your favorite or personal context. Let's see, Ted, the entities are also driven by Google local scouts. They program where a program where people are asked, is this venue good for lunch? And you would say this is a good venue for a date, etc. So yeah, there might be local guide level impacts and those types of things where they can manipulate your profile with information. People might be surveyed for information. I don't know if Google does that, but it's a possibility. Yeah, there could be many ways that Google gets information for tags like these. But I also know that a lot of businesses set them themselves. JP says you need to know where Google pulls those filters from. And so, I would wager that ultimately they reside in the profile on Google's systems. So ultimately they're cached there for quick querying. Let's see. Recommend 7.5 for maps reports. Not currently. 7.2 is the latest stable build. 7.5 was an internal beta. It's got known issues, so I'd say 7.2. How do you approach ranking a product page that has multiple colors? Well, it depends on the platform because platforms handle versions of products differently. They don't all get handled the same way. Do you create different URLs? When I was in ecom, we didn't. You would go to a product page and you would select a version to add to your cart, but the product page covered all those versions as product options. If you go to other e-commerce platforms, they will break out every version you could possibly add to a cart to its own specific URL. And that makes things really hard for SEO. And, my inclination would be on those to canonicalize them to the parent item of all the versions, so you don't have to have unique product copy for each version and unique titles and headings for each version. So I would try to get Google to not index the options they add to cart, but try to get a top level product page for all those versions, like color and size. And I know that the Amazon way is to have verbose URLs for everything people would want. And I think ultimately this is a business decision that you should back with sales data from your business. Kind of let the sales decide. Try it out one way, try it out another way, see what works best for you. Because it's really hard to know the user behaviors in every industry. So where possible, let your sales data decide with testing. Do open hours affect your ability to appear in MapPack? It appears to be the case that can happen. I'm not saying it happens all the time for every keyword in every location. It appears to be the case that that is a possibility and you would want to look for it. You would want to make sure that you are checking your local rankings during peak hours and checking local rankings when you're closed. And so having data on that over time is going to give you your best answer. Let's see. I have a few multiple location clients and I find that they have better rankings for a keyword while searching in that city versus city plus keyword. They're two different searches, so they can have two different outcomes, right? Even the concept of Seattle plumber and plumber Seattle is two different searches. The exact match scoring component on those is different, and different pages will have different amounts of exact match score based on how they frame the ordering of those terms. So you may even need to get as nuanced as, reversing the keywords to see if that impacts whether or not you're 3 or 4, and it might. So yeah, those are different searches. You might want to look at all of them, make sure you kind of have your pages covering those bases where they can as well as they can. Car accident lawyer. Searching in Miami ranks better than Miami car accident lawyer. Yeah, because your page might have more exact match for that, and not enough exact match for the other. And so you would have to competitively look at how your competition is tuned for those. And are you up to snuff for those different keywords on the same page? And you wouldn't necessarily break those out to different exact match internal pages. You would probably want to tune one page for both of them adequately to compete in each context. JP says you have a relevance versus proximity issue, and proximity is hard to deal with. So you can have multiple verified addresses. You can have multiple non-verified addresses. Be careful with the addresses you try to verify. Some of those can get you into real trouble. But I also see lots of businesses who will still use unverified addresses on their websites, and they'll often call them administrative locations for billing, and we don't accept customers at this address. But if you want to mail us there, you can. And those can be PO boxes and mailbox, etc., and co-working space, the unverified addresses. Just don't try to get them verified. You'll get in big trouble doing that. But it does appear to work slower on those unverified locations. I've seen examples of it. So appears to work, just not the quickest path to working. So let's see, would putting a press page on my website and linking to all the press release URLs, yeah, that's kind of the PR stacking. People are doing it out in the cloud. They're doing it with their press pages. Um, I want to give you a little bit of caution on doing these schemes. Like if you do link building to press release distributions, you are probably killing the lifetime of the press release. I keep it simple, and when I do that, I often get 12 to 18 months out of a press release. People that are aggressively doing SEO things in their press release and to their distributions might find that their press releases only last for 2 or 3 months. So if you go aggressive on the SEO, you might be shooting yourself in the foot. So just know that my personal experience, I like to keep it simple and minimize the SEO. That way, the places they syndicate to aren't having a heart attack saying it's SEOs, prune it, prune it. You don't want to trigger that. Okay. So, just know that if you do ridiculous things, you'll get treated in ridiculous ways. Um, let's see. Eric asks, local SEOs, what's your favorite local maps rank tracker for grids? So leave a comment on the video. Let Eric know what you recommend for ranking grids. And let's see. Let's see there. Did I get this one? Would putting a press release on my, yeah, we did that one. Was there a follow-on question? Would Google have an issue? I don't know. I tend to find that SEO that works is ultimately black hat because Google doesn't want you picking what ranks. And SEO that doesn't work is Google approved. So if you really want Google to like you, let Google decide. But if you want SEO that works, you're probably going to run afoul of Google at some point. So that is what it is. JP says he has a desktop app that he built. Maybe he can comment the URL in the YouTube video comments. So if you want to see what JP is up to, check it out. At some point, I'll try to have JP on the show so he can show some of his tips and tricks. I think that would be a good show. All right. Thank you, everyone. At the beginning of the video, we have Madge's Black Friday code. So when we end the podcast, just go back to the start of the video to get that code. And I will show it one more time now because why not? So here it is. Use BF25 as your code. I don't make any money on that. That's 100% Madge. I use his service and several others. So that code is just a discount for you. Enjoy. Thank Madge for it. Has nothing to do with me or any money I make. All right. Take care, everyone. We will see.